Hello there, dreamer community. Y'all look good today. You know what we're going to do today? We're going to talk about miracles. How about them apples? It is a new month, which means I'm here to announce our topic. I'm just going to jump straight in because I don't really have any other way to do this. Just to get after it. And what's so fascinating about, if you're in my mastermind group, Dreamstorm, God has had us on this journey that's taken us so far out of the boat that here he's got me this month talking about miracles. This has not been planned. Dreamstorm is a place where, for me, as just someone who likes to sit as close to God as possible in my quiet time with him, is that it's become a place where I get to just express some of the things that I really hear him drawing us into. And so this month we're going to talk about miracles. And it came from the last couple of weeks in this group of committed dreamers having a conversation around what does it look like to build my life on the Lord? What does it look like to live fully alive? What does it look like to get out of the boat of comfortability and to walk on water towards Jesus? So it's big questions like that has postured my heart to be searching for really bold answers. Really, really, really bold answers. And so we're going to talk about miracles because what was really interesting to me is, and I would ask you this, when you think of a miracle, how would you define that word? Like, I want you to even just for a second, I want you to think about that word miracle. And if I said to you, define miracle as a word, and then tell me a miracle that you need to see in your life. I'd be so curious as to what comes up for you. And even if you're listening, I'd love you to put it in the chat. I'd love for you to define the word miracle, and then go as far as even saying, okay, if I'm getting real and I'm asking God for a miracle, here's the miracle I'm asking him for. Do that for just a second. And I'm going to take you on a journey with me, a quick one, but then I'm going to ask at some point, make sure in our Facebook group that you are getting connected to this big question, or straight up dreamstormwithjulia.com and join us for this month. That will probably blow our hair back just a little bit because God just has a way of doing that. Of what would a world look like where miracles happen? I don't know about you, but I think that a lot of us who are tired are just bored. I think that we're tired because we're bored. Yes, that definition of miracle is amazing. Something unexpected that I cannot do for myself. Yes, I would agree. And then here's where this conversation is super fascinating to me, because I fear that the miracles that we're asking God to do in our lives are actually ones we could do for ourselves. They're just hard. I just would like to draw a line in the sand. I have no order for this conversation, by the way, today. This is something I just feel like I'm supposed to just show up. We're real with y'all. Here's my fear with this conversation of miracles. I fear, and I have a list of people's miracles. And after sitting with these miracles and really praying about them, I mean, my community members who have shared their hearts and what a miracle would look like for them, my fear and why I would suggest that we're bored is because so much of what we would ask God to do as a miracle in our lives, I might suggest, have more that we could actually do for ourselves than we think. But they're hard, and it's convicting, and it means that I'm going to have to work, and it means that I have to shift, and it means I'm going to have to take a few risks, and it means that I have to knock on a few doors, and it means that I have to keep going, and I'm going to have to keep persevering, and I'm going to have to walk by faith, and I'm going to have to trust myself, and I'm going to I'm going to have to do things differently. And y'all know me, like, I'm up for that. Like, that's why I wrote this book, is because it was like, I just want to see us equipped with the ability to do hard things well. I feel like that's on us. And I've been reading scripture after scripture after scripture lately around what's on me and what's on God. I'm with this miracle, something unexpected that I cannot do for myself. Here's another definition of miracle. A miracle is when the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, meaning 1 + 1 = 1,000. That's a miracle, right? It's like Jesus feeding the 5,000. There is not enough fish and not enough bread to feed all of these people. And then it happens. The sum of the things that I have is 1 + 1 = 2. But the sum of what happens when God intervenes is 1 + 1 = 1,000. It's a surprising, unexplainable event that occurs that nature and science cannot define. And so what's interesting about this our world now is that science has been able to start to define a lot, which is amazing for us learning. But then there's still so much that is undefinable by God. And I think that that's what the world is hungry for, is that now that we have learned so much and we can comprehend so much, I think what happens is now we're starting to be so dependent on intellect that then we aren't actually positioning ourselves as people to get in the way of a miracle, because we're still in the zone of intellect. So we're actually not praying prayers for miracles. We're praying prayers that still intellectually we can understand. And I think that's maybe why we're not seeing miracles, which is why I want to talk about miracles. That's why I want to talk about miracles this month. And I want to lean in a couple of scriptures around miracles and invite us into a bigger thought process around this. If I am going to choose to serve a God who does miracles, and when I say, well, if I'm going to choose that God, what does that mean? I think it's really easy for us to compartmentalize who God is based upon what we've experienced thus far. So when I say things to you like, do you see God as your comfort? Do you see God as your hiding place? Do you see God as your place of joy? Do you see God as joyful? Do you see God as a miracle worker? It's interesting if you pause and think about each one of those titles, because I think that we can start to compartmentalize who we think God is, which isn't actually who he is. It's just who we think he is. So my question to you today is, do you believe or do you want to know God as a miracle working God? And if that's true, I think that it's going to be some time and some reflection where we have to really consider walking in faith. And faith is one of those words that I think we know a lot about. Faith is the evidence of things hoped for, the substance of things not seen. It's the conviction of, I believe it without needing physical proof. Faith is moving before we're ready, right? Faith is getting out of the boat, right? Faith is all like, it's a concept that we understand. But oftentimes, again, if we're not careful, we can put our faith in the result, right? Like, I'll give you an example. The other day, I'm being tested in my areas of faith within my business, right? And as we're growing and changing and shifting. And so the other day, I'm like, yeah, I have faith, but I'm not seeing the results. And so God's like, okay, then do you have faith in the results or do you have faith in me? And I was like, oh, that's a fair question. Do I have faith in the dream that God's given me? Do I have faith in the prophetic word? Do I have faith in what I think is going to happen? Or do I actually have faith in the character of who God is? Upgrade. Faith to have a dream is a good start. I think that's probably better than a large portion of the population. I think a lot of us don't even have faith for a dream. Okay. So could we be that step one might be that faith that God has ordained and purposes to do something great. But then what happens is I think we start to tie our faith into the thing. We tie our faith into the result. We tie our faith into the prophetic word. And we lose that faith is actually not tied to the prophetic word. It's not tied to the dream. It's tied to God's character. So we're allowed to have a dream. We need prophetic words. It's all of that is biblical. Having a vision, right? Like God clearly throughout his word is telling people time and time and time and time again. He's giving them proof. He's giving them words. He's giving them dreams. But then every single time from Abraham to Moses to Noah to Esther to Mary to Joseph to Jesus, like God's way towards that prophetic word and dream is very different than the person who received it. Which tells me that in order to start to lean in to go, I'm actually want to know God as a miracle working God means I'm going to have to practice a new level of faith, which just isn't in the word. It isn't just in the dream. It's in his character. It rests in God's character. And then what it's got me thinking is, scripture, John 14:12. And this is one of the verses I want us to plant in. John 14:12 says, Jesus is saying, I tell you this timeless truth. The person who follows me in faith, believing in me, will do the same mighty miracles that I do, even greater miracles than these, because I go to be with my Father. For I will do whatever you ask me to do when you ask me in my name. And that is how the Son will show what the Father is really like and bring glory to him. Ask me anything in my name, and I will do it for you. There's a couple of key words in here. First of all, miracles. There's the word miracles. The person who follows me in faith. Now we got to follow Jesus in what? In faith. Faith is in what? The evidence of something I don't see, but it's built in the character of God, knowing who God is, believing in what? Me. It doesn't say believing in my prophetic word or even believing in your dream or even it says believing in me. It's an upgrade here. What I'm inviting us into this month is an upgrade in where we're putting our faith. I don't have faith in my dream. I just happen to have one. I don't have faith in the prophetic word. I just happen to have one. I don't have faith in my vision. I just happen to have one. Where my faith resides is in Jesus. I believe in him. Then it says, then when you follow me in faith, believing in me, then you will do the same mighty miracles that I do and even greater miracles than these because I will go to the Father. Here's my thought on the miracles then. Miracles should be a starting place and an invitation into God's power, not the power itself. Meaning that Jesus refused to devalue his ministry of working miracles as a spiritual slideshow that made people feel good and get hyped on the miracle. He didn't want people to get hyped on the miracle, which is why there's so often you see him like pulling away to heal people, like going into people's houses. He says so many times, don't tell people what you've just seen. Jesus performs miracles that most of us would be like, Jesus, you should get on the big show. You should YouTube that. You would be a YouTube sensation. Jesus doesn't say, Peter, grab your phone and put this on YouTube so the whole world sees. And I think there's something about that we should ponder is what Jesus is not there to put the miracles on hype. He's there doing miracles because it's the will of the Father in quiet places that then he tells people, hey, don't go share what you've seen with people. Why? I think it's because he knows that our heart as people can get so stuck up on the hype. Oh man, this is such a good word. that we could get so caught up in the hype of the miracle that we start to focus more on the hype than the character of God. Which could it be that in all of God's goodness, that maybe that our heart posture has more to do with miracles than we would think? I'm wondering if miracles have more to do with our heart posture than we might think. In this scripture, I tell you this timeless truth. The person who follows me in faith, believing in me, will do the same mighty miracles that I do, even greater miracles than these, because I will go with my Father. For I will do whatever you ask me to do when you ask me in my name. That means that the person who's able to sit closest to Jesus and going, God, Jesus, what is it that you want me to know about this? What is your character around this? The closer I get to him, meaning my proximity to him matters, the more my heart starts to look like his heart, and the more my heart starts to look like his heart, then I'm able to actually pray into the heart of the Father, which then allows me to say, hey, I can ask anything in his name and he's going to do it for me. Why? Because my heart is like his. Not because even my dream reflects him, it's that my heart reflects his heart. So crazy. That's what we're going to talk about this month. So here's what does this look like currently today? I want you to read this verse over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And I want you to ask yourself, do you know the miracle working God? Do you know God as a miracle working Father? Is your heart postured in such a way that you aren't begging and pleading him for results in your life, but sitting so close to him and his heart and understanding his heart that it causes you easily to get out of the boat? Here's what I'd like to remember. I think that this would shift our prayer life, the way we walk in authority, the dreams that we're even currently dreaming, and then the things that we would have on a list of, like, well, it would be a miracle. It would be a miracle if I could write books. That's not a miracle. That's you just deciding to write books. It would be a miracle if God brought me the property I've always dreamed of. That's not necessarily a miracle. That might just be you knocking on doors. That might actually not be one of those things that is unexpected that you can't do for yourself. Could you do it for yourself? Yeah. Could God surprise you along the way that you're like literally knocking on doors? Someone's like, hey, I saw you knocking on my neighbor's door, but I just like to gift you my property. Miracle. That's a miracle. But I've also seen thousands of people owning the exact lot that they want, having the exact land that they want, because they realize I could do this for myself if I were to be bold and just be brave and get after it. If I could change some habits and patterns, I actually could get healthy. I've literally watched multiple friends in my life dealing with cancer. And I have seen some who are doing the hard work to heal their own bodies, and it's working. I have seen and witnessed some that you go back to the doctor and it's gone. There's no way to explain it. That's a miracle. Also, that person just taking responsibility and taking those steps is incredible to watch. And I'm not saying that one is right or wrong. I'm just inviting us into the things that you might write down on paper that feel like miracles. The only filter I want to ask you of right now, is there any of them that you can do on your own with a little bit of grit and a little bit of belief in yourself, a little bit of faith in who you are, a little bit of faith in the oomph, a little bit of faith in the fact that if you just put some pedal to the metal and you made some strategic decisions and you made some intentional choices, could just your faith in you change circumstances? And when you do that, then could you start to have eyes for a God who also wants to rock your world and wants to use you and work in and through your bold asks of him to do miracles. I tell you this timeless truth. The person who follows me in faith, believing in me, will do the same mighty miracles that I do, even greater miracles than these. A miracle working God. Interesting. That's where we're going to land today. That's where we're going to land this month. Where do you need just to have more faith and belief in you? Some of us don't spend enough time building the relationship that we have with ourselves. Now, again, there's a fine line between just loving you and getting all ego driven. But we even see in God's command us, right? He says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. Please don't be egotistical. Great. Let's just throw that all out there. But I wonder if there's some things that you can work on now to build just the faith and trust in just you. And then what would it look like to take your eyes off the dream, the vision, the prophetic word, and back into following Jesus in faith, believing in him and his character, and then getting out of the boat and feeding 5,000 and building an ark? Let faith arise in a miracle working God who gives us promises that we will do even greater things than he would by putting our eyes and full belief in him and his character. I don't think we'll be bored, is what I'm saying. So join me on this Not Bored month as we talk about not boring things and get all uncomfortable and all up in each other's business and convicted and in awe and everywhere in between. Let's do that. So, on behalf of heaven, let's do miracles. Let's see miracles. Let's partner with God in miracles. Start today.